Hello and welcome to Candela. In this lecture, we are going to discuss one interesting chapter in physical anthropology, that is ecological anthropology. In our UPSC syllabus, apart from discussing various rules like Benjamin's rule, Allen's rule, Hess rule, we need to focus much on various human adjustments to environmental stress. Various environmental stress like high altitude stress, heat, cold, nutritional stress, etc. In this lecture, let us discuss about one such human adjustments to high altitude, hypoxia. So before that, let us discuss what these human adjustments are. So human adjustments to environmental extremes. These are broadly classified into the two ways by which human beings can adjust to the environmental stress. One by biological means, another by cultural means. So the biological ways of human adjustments are further classified into acclimatization and adaptation. Acclimatization. So acclimatization refers to temporary changes. Suppose if a person reaches a high altitude, if he wants to scale a peak and if he is beyond 4,000 meters above the sea level, there is one environmental stress, and this type of environmental stress is new to the system, new to the body, and brain has no clue about how we are going to meet this stress. So brain initiates or brain passes orders to our entire genetic system and to all the organs, please do something so that we need to cope up with the new environmental stress. So remember, our entire genetic system will be put into work and in acclimatization. And acclimatization largely includes changes in molecular and physiological characteristics in our body. On the other hand, adaptations are permanent changes. See, this acclimatization, right, these are temporary changes. Only when we are facing that environmental stress, these changes will be found in our body, and once when we are out of that environmental stress, our body will reverse to its original condition. On the other hand, adaptation refers to permanent changes. Suppose if human beings continue to occupy or continue to live in this environmental stress for few centuries, then there will be some morphological changes. So in adaptation, apart from molecular and physiological changes, there will also be some morphological changes, and these changes are permanent and this will not vanish in time. So now let us discuss one environmental stress, that is human adaptation to high altitude. So what happens when we go to high altitude? We know that with the increase in altitude, pressure decreases. With a decrease in pressure, even the density of the gases decreases. As a result, at higher altitude, there is less availability of oxygen for us to inhale. Oxygen content declines or decreases with the increase in altitude. So this condition is called as a hypoxia. So how we are going to meet the system, how we are going to deal with this environmental stress? And this type of environmental stress is something very new to human beings, and until the late 19th century we had no clue or no idea about the environmental conditions which prevailed at higher altitudes. Initially in the year 1875, few French balloonists, they tried to reach higher altitude using their balloon, the most importantly the zenith. And there were three people who ascended along with the balloon, and they didn't expect what's going to happen to them. Their balloon reached almost 8,600 meters above sea level, but still it is less than the altitude of Mount Everest. And when the balloon descended, 2 out of the 3 were dead altogether, and one person became permanently deaf, and at least he was alive to narrate what exactly happened to the other 2 when the balloon started ascending. Now, before going into the various acclimatization and adaptation to this hypoxia or the less oxygen condition, first let us discuss how that system works, in what way oxygen is important for our human system. See guys, this is our alveoli. Alveoli is the final product of our lungs. So, when we inhale, the air finally reaches the alveoli. This alveoli will be surrounded by, I'll just show this picture once again. See here, the structure of an alveoli. See, an alveoli, right, this will be surrounded by a number of blood capillaries. So, this is one alveoli and this is a blood capillary. See here, the hemoglobin here comes here with full of carbon dioxide. So, this is an impure blood which comes from our tissues. So, here in the alveoli what happens, the carbon dioxide diffuses out and the oxygen moves into the hemoglobin, or the hemoglobin gets oxygenated, and it further moves to the heart. So, this is the system, how the system works. So, from the alveoli, oxygen enters our blood vessel and carbon dioxide moves out here. And this oxygenated blood reaches our heart, and from the heart this will be pumped into our tissues, and finally it reaches the cells, and every individual cell utilizes this oxygen to synthesize ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the ultimate source for our energy. So, after the utilization of this oxygen, the blood again moves back to the heart, from which it will be pumped back to the lungs. So, this is how the system works. And now the stress here is we are inhaling the same amount of air, but the oxygen content in that is less. So, how we are going to deal with such a condition? So, generally because of the less availability of oxygen at higher altitudes, we may encounter these problems: AMS, acute mountain sickness. Then we have high altitude pulmonary edema. So, pulmonary edema means this leads to accumulation of blood and generally blood and other body fluids in our lungs. As a result, lungs swells, and this condition is really lethal. And the next is a high altitude cerebral edema. The same thing happens to the brain. These conditions are extremely lethal, and one cannot, it's very difficult for people to survive when they reach such a condition. So, how we are going to adjust to this hypoxia? As I told you, there are two biological ways by which human beings can adjust themselves to these hypoxic conditions. One is by acclimatization, another one is by adaptation. As I told you, acclimatization refers to temporary changes. The changes are temporary. Once when we face this stress, then our system works to prevent us from any further damage because of this stress. And our entire genetic system will be put to deal with this stress. And once when we are out of that environmental stress, our body will reverse back to its original condition. Now, let us discuss the acclimatization to hypoxic conditions one after another. The first important thing is increase in breathing rate. So, once when a person reaches higher altitude, he will start breathing at a faster rate. This we call it as a pulmonary hyperventilation. Keep breathing at a faster rate so that we can inhale more air inside with an expectation of getting more oxygen. At the same time, there will also be an increase in cardiac output. That means even heart will start pumping the blood at a faster rate, so that more blood will reach the tissue. So, these are the ways by which, there are a number of ways by which, right, the oxygen which a tissue is supposed to receive, we need to increase that. There are a number of ways, right, by which we can do this, our body can do this. One way is, number one, by increasing the breathing rate. Then increasing the cardiac output, that means the rate at which the heart pumps, that also increases. Then kidney plays some role in the human acclimatization to hypoxia. So sensing this stress, kidney starts secreting a chemical called as erythropoietin. This erythropoietin, it increases the synthesis of RBC in the bone marrow. As a result, there will be an increase in the concentration of RBC. We call it as increase in hemo concentration. As a result, there will be more hemoglobin in our blood. So with the increase in the concentration of RBC, we can increase the amount of oxygen which is carried by the blood. As a result, right, tissues can get more oxygen supply. Then oxygen dissociation from hemoglobin. As I told you here, oxygen, right, it diffuses here, and there in that point it dissociates from the hemoglobin to reach this cell. So this is our blood vessel, and inside our RBC oxygen is there. This oxygen needs to diffuse into our cell. For this, there is a need for a minimum partial pressure. But for Highlander, suppose if you have reached a higher altitude, it happens that oxygen is capable of diffusing from the hemoglobin into the cell even at a low partial pressure. Even at a less concentration, oxygen is capable of moving from oxygen is capable of dissociating from the hemoglobin into the cells. Then at the same time, there will also be an increase in the number of blood capillaries. So with the increase in number of blood capillaries, then once again we can increase the amount of blood which reaches your tissues, and all these are again temporary changes. Then now let us discuss human adaptation. Human adaptation, that means these changes are permanent. People who live permanently in high altitudes, they have this type of adaptations. Chest size. Generally, the chest size will be very large, so that the large chest can accommodate huge lungs. Then less body mass. See, the oxygen which we inhale will be utilized by our tissues and finally the cell to produce ATP or energy. So if you have a large body mass, a larger body mass is responsible for, if you have a large body mass, there is a need to have more oxygen. On the other hand, if the body mass is, say for example, compare Inzamam ul Haq and Virat Kohli. How massive Inzi is, Inzamam ul Haq? Most of the time you can see him getting run out. That lazy fellow, even he runs very slowly and very poorly he used to follow the ball. But that is not the case with Virat, right? See, for a person like Inzamam ul Haq, because of the huge body mass, there is a more need for oxygen. On the other hand, a person like Virat, because of his slender body shape, body size, he needs almost 50% less oxygen than what Inzamam ul Haq needs. So generally, people who live in high altitude, who live permanently there in high altitude, their general body size tends to be smaller. In high altitudes, even the size of the newborn baby, size and weight of the newborn baby tends to be bit less. Then oxygen extraction by hemoglobin. So people who live in high altitude, they tend to have one advantage. Their hemoglobin is capable of absorbing oxygen or extract oxygen from the lungs even at a very less partial pressure. So these are the permanent changes which we can see among the people who live in high altitude. Hope you are comfortable with the human adjustments to high altitude. That is human acclimatization and human adaptation to high altitude. So let us discuss the remaining chapter in our next video. Thank you.